Have you ever felt like you did everything right, but still couldn't close the sale? You told them what it did, you explained it clearly, but they still said no? Kind of like, have you ever known a guy who was a good guy, but the girl still chose somebody else? Well, today you're officially leaving the friend zone. You will learn how to take advantage of common human psychology to make your customers want to buy. You already know that my name is Shai Sensei and I help detailers scale their business. And we have no cutesy animations or long graphics. We are getting started now. And I want to start with an example of a client that had a problem running a loss leader package. The idea was very simple. Charge $49 for a wash and wax, and then at the appointment itself, try to upsell them to rims, a full exterior, an interior, or really a combination of any of those. Now, before you freak out about selling a wash and wax for $50, know that his main goal was to build his customer base. This wasn't his only revenue stream, which acted like a failsafe. Even if nobody bought, he'd still have income coming from other sources. But if everything did go according to plan, he would run this for 3 months, get 100 new customers, make decent money in the process, and then follow up with them to bring them in the future to do a full price detail or bring them back as recurring revenue. The problem that he was able to get people to buy the cheaper packages, but when it came time for upsells, people weren't buying. And it's always tricky for me to find out what's wrong here because I can audit what I can see, but I have to rely on him to accurately report how he's talking to his customers. So let's walk through this one together. His customer journey looked something like this. People saw an ad online. Some of them were paid, some of them were social media, and he only targeted new customers. They would then leave their information on his website. He would call them, and then he would meet them in person. At the sales appointment, he would try to do the rest of the things. The first part was working. He was getting leads. These leads were converting into customers. That was working too. The system made sense. It was realistic for us to expect for people to buy. Sure, not everybody would, but it's a numbers game. What wasn't working is the upsell part. And what we eventually figured out was that he was putting too much focus on what his services did and not enough on how it made people feel. Now, emotional selling is not a standalone topic. It's part of the stability scaling system, which is a step-by-step playbook to build a healthy, debt-free business. So for you to understand how emotional selling works, so you can close more customers, you need to understand how your customers buy. Your customers buy because they have a problem to which they need a solution. Most detailers, including your next door competitor, think that the problem is a dirty car. The problem isn't the fact that the car is dirty. The problem is how a dirty car makes people feel. I know how it sounds, but think about it. You took your car through the mud, and by your own standards, it's absolutely disgusting. But when you pull into the gas station, people spin their heads, an old man with a white mustache nods his head in respect, and one girl even makes really long eye contact with you. Let me ask you, would you wash your car? The heck you would. What this means is when your customer calls you to get their car detailed, what makes them tick and makes them take action is how the end result will make them feel. Remember, people buy with emotion and justify with logic. Let's take another example so you can see how this would work with a real customer. And we'll call her Annie. Annie's car is trashed. It's obviously not ideal, but the car still drives. She can get to and from work, she can get groceries, and she can function just like a regular adult. But here's what she can do. She can't bring people in. So any hopes of a boyfriend? Out the door. She can't bring friends in the car. No carpooling, no going places, none of that. Because if they saw the inside, they would think she's gross. So she feels embarrassed about her car, and it's hurting her self-confidence. That's how she feels about it. In other words, yes, a dirty car isn't ideal, but how it makes her feel, this is what she would pay money to solve. Think about it. What would happen if she did get her car detailed? If she met a guy, he would be very impressed with her clean car. He would be more attracted to her, and other people will probably feel the same. She herself will have better self-esteem because she's proud to have a clean car. And those are two very different worlds to live in. This is why this works so well. The idea of having your car protected or smelling nice isn't enough for most people to choose you. But the idea that others would laugh at you if you don't clean your car and will be jealous of you if you do, this is how you get people to beg you to take the $300. I'll say it again. People buy with emotion and justify with logic. Before we move on to talk about how to tie this in your packages, I have to warn you. The only way you'll see a result from this is if you take action. While not drilling the importance of this is probably good for my likes and views, I've done this for long enough to know that this is the key for you to get what you want. I get guys from time to time who tell me with full confidence how they tried everything. Nothing worked. Their situation is just unlike any other. And every time, like clockwork, we discovered that they tried some stuff, and usually it was in pieces. The reason I give you this big spiel and ruin the fun momentum we otherwise built is because this is how you get what you want. Unless you want to be forever stuck in this loop of doing some marketing, getting some meh results, and then repeating the whole process, you need to take action now. Okay, back to work. The natural question I often hear is, how do we actually use this? Let's say you're talking to a customer and they ask you what is special about the premium package. You can say, the premium package offers the strongest protection. It will give you the confidence to drive anywhere with a peace of mind that your car is protected. You don't have to worry about your paint because you have a protection layer that prevents it from getting damaged. And I want you to notice what happens here. You shift the focus from their car to them. Suddenly, your service will give them the confidence to drive everywhere. The reason this works is because it changes the equation. When we buy something, we have a conversation with ourselves where we ask, do I value what I'm buying more than the amount of money that I'm asked to pay for it? I know what you're thinking. Shai, you're such a good painter. Thanks. I know. Well, your problem is that every detailer can offer them a protected car. So they evaluate this against the cost, and even if they don't buy from one guy, they can still buy it from the other. But when you focus on emotion, you break this equation. You force people to evaluate something completely different. The cost of self-confidence, peace of mind, and calmness versus money. You can agree, the second one is a lot more powerful. This is why this works so well, because you get people to pay for something much more valuable while still being truthful. Now that you understand how it works, let's work on adding this onto your arsenal. From a high level, you want to discover what emotional problem are they solving. Once you have that problem, or even at least an idea of it, you can explain how your services help them solve it. What I suggest to clients is just ask a simple question. What inspired you to get a detail today? What you will usually get is some half answers, but that's okay. Granted, nobody will straight up tell you, my car is hurting my self-confidence, please, quick, here's my card. But what you will learn is that most people begin to open up. You can then ask questions like, how long has this been a problem and how is it limiting you? What you're doing is you're finding out the reason your customer is booking that detail. This is important because you will later use this information and explain how your service, or upsell or high ticket item, helps them get that result. There's another part of this formula which talks about problem solving as a whole, which says that people care more about solving their problem rather than the actual steps that it takes to get there. This is a topic for a different video. If you want that, just click the second link in the description below. So let's put this into action and take an example.
Hi, I want to get a quote for an exterior detail.
Sure, we have two exterior packages. Can I ask, what inspires you to get it detailed?
Well, it's a new car and I want to take care of it, you know?
At this point, you're going to do something extraordinary. It's something that I fight literally with everyone to do because of how powerful it is. You're going to shut up and let them talk. Because that little silence is what's going to give them the stage to spill the beans and tell you what really matters to them.
I I always wanted a sports car and I finally saved enough to get one. So I want to take care of it because I'm going to keep it for a while.
I understand. Based on that, I would recommend the premium package. It gives you peace of mind for up to 6 months and makes people spend their head when you drive by. Another thing I'll mention is if you really want to protect your car, we do have a treatment that comes with the lifetime protection. It's not something I can do on a day's notice, but I can send you some more information in the meanwhile. Yeah, this is what I want.
That's how you use emotional selling to close more sales. Think about it. Every other detailer would have just told them the price and moved on, hoping that the customer would say yes. But you have professionally understood the problem, sold the detail, and got a lead for ceramic.